And now you're tuning in to the Women Unplugged podcast.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Women Unplugged podcast. This is our second episode. We're going to call this one Toxic Friends, Just Stay at Home. Please go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Women Unplugged _.
Lavina, what's the news?
You guys know that tomorrow is April Fool's Day. And I have been doing some research because, in America we have so many holidays. And according to history.com, the origin of April Fool's Day is unknown. It started off as something called All Fool's Day that people celebrated almost all the way back into the 1500s. And now we don't know where it came from, but it's a national holiday. So I wanted to know, ladies, how important do you think it is to know the origin and the importance of the holidays that we celebrate?
You have to think, you have the holidays are usually the only time that we're able to congregate as family. And we're spending our money. We're, pretty much being very spiritual or very religious or family oriented on these days and ultimately celebrating them, but not really knowing what we're celebrating. So I do think we do need to be a little bit more knowledgeable about what we're actually putting our energy into.
Hello.
I just thought it was really interesting, and I would love to hear some people's perspectives on it. So if you're plugged in with us, feel free to go ahead and leave a comment or send us a message so we can discuss further. But as we continue on in the news, we obviously know that right now we're actually in the middle of a global pandemic with the COVID-19, also known as coronavirus. I'm so glad we called this episode Stay at Home, and I think it's important to know that as you guys are plugged in and listening, we're actually all home. And of course, ladies, it brings the question, we're having this conversation about martial law, which is a big deal in America because, we Americans, we like to make our own decisions. We don't like nobody telling us what and when we need to do what we need to do. So with that said, how are you ladies feeling about the institution of martial law? I know for me, when I think about it, and I feel like I say this so often, but I'm like, I don't know that I care as much that our government is taking steps to institute martial law, only because it seems like we're going about this really childlike. Like when they said coronavirus, it was almost like everybody was like, "Oh, vacation. I'm out of school."
And I said,
I'm
Illuminati. That's what I said.
Okay, so like I said.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say when it comes down to this epidemic, it's something that, they were talking about on the international news for at least a month or two before they even began to address it here in the States. Like you just said, Lavina, our response is childish and it's late, So for me, I'm looking at the more political reasons behind martial law, more so for the control factor, or even just all of the effects from the virus so far, where you have companies laying people off, you have cities shut down, you already have the police out here patrolling, curfews in certain areas in certain states. So, you already kind of have it. I just feel like this is something that, they maybe have been wanting to do for some time, but as always, we're not really going to know what's really going on until after it's happened.
Right. And I think the most important thing that you said was safety, like the safety of the people, because I think that's the purpose. Anybody with children knows when you tell your child no, they don't necessarily listen the first time. So then you have to institute, some sort of discipline following that something is going to happen that they don't like I'm going to take away your phone, I'm going to take away the TV, no cartoons, whatever it is, to get them to abide by the rules that you're setting. And I think that is what we have done. We've acted like children, and now the government is like, well, okay, kids, let's hone it in. Here's the rules. And now, as unfortunate as it is, we have to abide by them in order to keep us safe, which seems like second nature, but we're not responding that way, in my opinion.
It's scary. It's scary to see that so many of us adults aren't taking it seriously.
Right.
And it's not so much like, some of us are still out and acting like children, but we also have a commander-in-chief who's been a child since day one and, is even recently saying, oh, we'll be back out in 2 weeks, which is going against what has been said that we should continue social distancing. So I feel it's really a lot of misinformation from people we should not be misinformed from. And it's just a lot of, it's like almost like the blind leading the blind, which is very unfortunate. And as far as martial law goes, because I've been listening to like a lot of different bloggers and YouTubers, and somewhere between like martial law and then celebrities telling everyone to reach into their purses, I don't want it. I rebuke it. I hope it doesn't turn into that, but I would hate for it to turn into a thing with like rioting and different things like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like at the end of the day, we're, people, we're animals. And I just hope with, cabin fever and being fed misinformation and being fed actual information and just doing with it whatever we will, going back to safety and all that, I just hope we're able to use our best judgment.
And see, that was what I was saying when it came to the response time being childlike. That came from the head of state. That came from the people who, or the person who was in charge of, chief of security, to actually give the people an upfront, honest, transparent reality. I understand not wanting to cause a epidemic where people are going crazy, okay, where you are causing riots, you are causing people to just act irate from fear. I understand that, but it still does come to a point where it's still not giving people enough time, even in the medical profession, to actually amp up for this. I mean, I was sitting, I was watching, not something that wasn't necessarily conspiracy related, but it was from a lady it was on CNN, from a lady who was the head of the hospital in New York, and she was talking about how they're short of ventilators. And you know that one of the main symptoms from COVID-19 is, heavy difficulty breathing. So they're very, very short on these ventilators, and it's one of the main treatment sources that they're having for people who are, showing up with COVID. And she's like, listen, we just got 5 more donated. And she literally said, unless some people die off, I'm sure we're still going to be begging for more ventilators. So I'm just saying, not even from our perspective. I'm talking about for people in the medical profession not even having the supplies or enough of a time given to them or enough information given to them in enough time in order for them to respond to what's going on as well. So, it's not just on a consumer level. You have it on every level where, for him to say, like you said, something like 2 weeks, okay.
I feel like I agree with both of you ladies. I do always, no matter what the subject, I always believe that everything flows from the head down. So whoever the CEO is, the people at the top, whatever their decisions are, they have a ripple effect with every person below them. So as far as it does concern our commander-in-chief, I do believe that there is an element of a lack of preparedness that he had, even from November 2019, trying to make sure, like Candy was saying, that people don't go into a panic. But I think, it was kind of the lesser of two evils. You don't want people to panic, but then you weren't open and transparent. So now you have people responding like, well, is this really that bad? and now, they're taking all these steps that seem like, oh my gosh, well, why are they instituting martial law to our nation? And people feel like their freedom is being stripped from them, but that's because they were not prepared. I feel like it was a lack of preparedness on that end. So I agree 100% with you. I think everything starts at the top. I understand not wanting people to be in a panic, but I also understand that now, because we have not used our freedom in the best way, in a sense, it is being taken away to make sure that we can be done with this as soon as possible. So for everybody who's plugging in and listening, just make sure you stay at home. Stay home, stay safe, wash your hands. I know some people, we're all saying we're not conspiracy theorists, but people are out there saying like this was all for, they want to put chips inside of us when they're testing and
yeah.
I happen to be in an interesting situation where, you guys know, my mom is in the military, and she's getting prepared to deploy, to leave out, to help build hospitals and be prepared for whatever else America needs. So for me, when I think about those things, I'm like, okay, if this is happening, that makes it real. That makes it real for me. The fact that people are losing family members, grandmothers, grandfathers, mothers, fathers, children. I just read about the first case. A 12-year-old girl died. So it is happening. It is real. It is a respiratory infection. So just everybody, I don't think we can say it enough, but just stay safe. Sanitize, wash your hands, be aware. Don't go out unless you need to. Let's get this done and wrap this up as soon as possible, because everybody's trying to have a hot girl and hot boy summer 2020. Right? Nobody's trying to be in the house.
Hello.
And now we have like 3.2 million people. It's like the most people in history applying for unemployment. So this is like, it's really affecting families. It's really affecting people who live paycheck to paycheck, the so-called middle class, whether you believe that it really exists or doesn't.
Girl, the middle class that is here is going to be gone by the time the coronavirus epidemic is over. You hear me?
Listen, I will say, once this is all over, I look forward to the time where, there's going to be trillions of dollars going towards small local businesses. And that is what we need to re-stimulate the economy once this is over. So while we're all locked up in the house, if you got a business plan that you need to put together, put it together. If you got an idea, if you got some designs, because you're a designer, draw them out, sketch them out. Don't make light of this time, because you're never going to get it back. Though it can feel like you're stuck, do something else with it. Don't just sit on it and be like, oh, I'm bored in the house. I stay on TikTok, but like, seriously, do something productive with your time. I'm in.
Yeah, I agree.
So, ladies, amid this pandemic that we are currently experiencing globally, did you know that the Senate has just approved a historic $2 trillion stimulus deal to help Americans?
$2 trillion. $2 trillion.
I think it's interesting because, Congress definitely did go back and forth about the bill. So it started off as like, oh, we want to give $1,000 and $500 per child. And then, the Democrats, of course, they rebuttal, what if we do $2,000 and $1,000 per child? And finally, we meet somewhere in the middle where now we actually have the bill passed and approved by the Senate for $2 trillion. A portion of it is going to small businesses. A portion of it is going towards, banks and people who are giving out loans to people who are in need in this time. So it's going towards a lot of good things. But do you ladies actually think that this is going to help stimulate the economy? Or do you think that we need to go a little bit further than just passing out a one-time payment?
I just don't understand how adding on more debt is supposed to help out a debtful situation. So I'm just going to be quiet, because when I start to think, my mind starts to hurt a little bit when I think about how much debt we owe in the United States of America. And I just don't see how adding on a $2 trillion on the back end allocation of the budget is going to add anything. That's a -$2 trillion.
I'm
However,
still trying to figure out how we're the richest country.
Girl, listen. I'm gonna just say that we do need it because we're all seeing the effects of it. I don't know how many people who don't live check to check nowadays, or who don't, or who do, should I say, have like a 6-month supply or a 6-month backup budget in their savings account. We're not really living in that time anymore where you have like this plentiful or large middle class. Like a lot of people are not really having that much in their backups. So I know for a fact people need it. People need that boost. Small businesses need the boost. You're seeing people literally being laid off, and it's because the businesses cannot afford to keep people there and pay them if they're not getting the business they were getting. So it's a domino effect. So I do think that it will ultimately stimulate the economy. It'll give us a boost. But once again, me not being no expert, I don't see how adding on a $2 trillion anything that's debt related is going to it's going to help the situation. I feel like it's going to be a temporary boost, and then it may crash. I don't know. Leave me alone. I don't know. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of like, here's a little bit of relief, but don't get it twisted. We don't need that back. You know what I mean? It's just like, I wish that there wasn't so much focus on, these huge corporations that are already huge corporations, when all these, smaller businesses are really being hit, when us, the citizens who, like you said, live check to check, are really being hit. Some people are losing their jobs altogether, not even just being temporarily laid off. So
I understand that. I feel like, for one, I have no problem accepting the check. And if anybody feels at any point they don't want to accept theirs, feel free to send it to my house. But in all seriousness, I do think, to what Candy said, it is going to be a temporary boost.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that we need something more long term, because everything, as we're discussing COVID-19, but in reality, we have no idea, and they don't have a cure, and we don't know how long that something like that is going to take. So I understand trying to take steps right now, but we need something that is more going to set us up for the future wealth, future prosperity, future increase, future stimulation. It's a stimulus bill. And I think that's kind of where, I'm not sure if you guys have seen, but a lot of Americans are rebuttaling with, Canada has passed a bill to give their residents and their citizens $2,000 a month for the next 4 months, as things are taking place to figure out what's going on. We just have, this next month.
Well, that's how everything we do in America. Everything we do in America is premature.
Like, we need it right now. And that's crazy. I will say, I do think it's great the way they made it applicable by the 2020 census. Because I feel like, because so many people are paying attention now to the COVID-19 and to coronavirus because of everything that's taken place, everybody is more aware to have themselves counted, which is important, because for the first time in 10 years, it's like an influx of people in, Black and brown communities saying, hey, I'm here, I need it. Where before is, you get your census in the mail, or somebody knocks at the door and you're like, no, I'm not interested. You don't think it's that important. So I think that part about it is great. But, I think we need to be looking towards the future of what will continue to help us stimulate the economy in this trying time. Although I appreciate the right now, because I believe everybody needs it, including myself, I would love to see another plan of action on what's going to help people in the future. And that's what I got to say about it. So, ladies, that is the news for today.
Hey, y'all. So it's time for our open discussion topic, which is toxic friends please stay at home. And y'all know everybody at home. It's COVID-19. I'm at home. You're at home. Okay? So with that being the case, I love how everyone is having some time to themselves and having some time to reset and having some time to really reevaluate a lot of the relationships and friendships in your life. And some of them may just be a little bit toxic. So ladies, Lavina and Penny, I gotta ask y'all, do y'all have any friends that are always complaining about stuff when at a time like this, like we should really be thankful for just not being sick, being able to wake up every day, having a roof, having food, having water. I mean, some people don't even have that. So do y'all have any friends that love to complain and they really shouldn't be complaining?
So I have not many friends, little to no friends. So I'll say that because I've had many toxic relationships within family. So my patience level for any like toxicity outside of that, because you can't choose family. So I could choose to be around somebody that's, on the outside, so to speak. So I don't have that problem because I don't have time for that kind of problem, if that makes sense.
I think we all kind of need a reality check on what toxic means, because I feel like it's a word that now is just we use to be dramatic. Like, some people are not toxic people. They just whack. There's just nothing good about them. They're just not good people. That doesn't mean they're toxic. That just means they're not good. They're not what you would consider to be a good person and somebody that you want around you. When I think about toxic, I think about, and I have had friends in the past. I don't currently have them, thank God, but I'm not going to act like I've never experienced it or that somebody hasn't experienced it from me. Because, sometimes we be forgetting. We've done some jacked up toxic things, too, to other people. Absolutely. By way of justifying it from any type of situation that happened to us. So first, we got to just, be real about the real. Are they toxic or is they just not a good person? There's a difference. And toxic people, I feel like, or a toxic friend is somebody who is constantly not just even nagging at you, but you constantly find yourself in compromising positions dealing with them. Like, if you know you married and this friend keep bringing you around all the single dudes, not the friend for you. She is obviously not pro your marriage. She's obviously, not thinking about what you have to go home to. If you're single, if you got a friend who constantly keeps trying to put you in a place of, you need to be in a relationship right now. You need to, you need to do this. You need to do that. You need to be trying to get married and have kids and do all these. If they keep putting you in a place that you feel like is compromising to the person that you decided you wanted to be. When you woke up in the morning and you said, ooh, I'm her, or ooh, I'm him. If that person, every time you with them, it doesn't feel like that, that's when you need to start making those decisions. And I feel like that starts in grade school. That starts like middle school, high school, and people start bringing a sense of normalcy and letting it be okay to be around people who are not good for them. And I hate to say it, but because of the benefit. Because some people stay around toxic people because they're getting some kind of benefit.
Yeah, and then so my next thing would be us talking about, those friends who you may not always know it, but they're jealous of you. They're secretly, quote unquote, call hating on you. They're envious of you. And that would be a friend that's pretty much, like you said, they may seem beneficial. Like, you may think they're pushing you because they want to see you do better, or they want to see you excel, they want to help you out. Or, they can still exhibit positive qualities, but all in all, have a negative intention the whole time. And I feel like we've all been through that, either in a personal relationship or in a friendship, because, people will always Well, not always. So I feel like some people will intentionally go into things with hidden intentions, and they are not always good. Now, of course, a guy could want to date a girl with a hidden intention of marrying her. That's not a bad thing. Unless she just is completely over marriage or not trying to do it. But even that's not something negative. You have people who will secretly befriend a person and try to defeat them in something or beat them in something or outsmart them in something or blackmail them in something or make them look bad in something, like something negative. I feel like is what makes the person toxic, because that same person that could be pursuing a friendship with an intention of, let's say, helping you out with your business plan. That doesn't have to necessarily be something, degrading or something that is derogatory. But if I'm trying to help you out with your business plan so I can learn it and pretty much take it and probably file for it before you do, or steal your business concept or out structure, then yeah, that's something that's, toxic. So like I said, we've all been in a scenario. Can you guys think of a scenario that you've been in, either in a past relationship, with a fam, or even a friendship, or even with a family member? Because like Penny said, we can't choose a family. Anyway, so is any situation that y'all can think of that has been toxic, where you feel like someone was jealous of you or envious of you, where, you didn't know at first, but then of course, truth came to light and that person really had like a negative intention?
So I had this friend from high school, and in my early 20s, I had to sever the friendship because it became very blatant that she would do different little things. And prior to completely letting go of the friendship, I had proof that she linked up with my ex at the time. And she was one of those friends that would always...
Just scandalous.
Scandalous as hell. So she was one of those friends, whenever we went out, sometimes I would lend her my clothes type stuff, and she would get around, that friend that gets around men and acts different. I don't know if you guys watch Housewives of Atlanta, but that episode where Kenya kept trying to ask Cynthia about her like wine knowledge, knowing that she has a wine business, and low key trying to make her look stupid about her own knowledge about her business. Stuff like that, where it's just like, oh yeah, and it's like, girl, bye. You know what I mean? And one of my favorite quotes is Maya Angelou: people forget what you say, but don't ever forget how you make them feel. Not to say that our feelings are based off of others, but if I feel good until I come around you, it's a problem. And that's been, really helpful for me to notice certain things, or to even, going off of what Lavina said, sometimes we are the toxic people in the situation. Sometimes we aren't the best person for another person, whether it's friendship or otherwise. So, realizing that and just cutting ties is really ideal for growth, for both parties involved.
I mean, I'll say I 100% agree with you, Penny. Yes, obviously I have experienced it. I can't tell you how many times that, I started, let's just say, it was a few years ago, I started a YouTube channel with somebody that was supposed to be like a really great friend. And, we started to kind of pick up momentum and traction. And because there was so many other voices around of people who didn't have the best interest of what we were doing, they stifled the growth of it. And so they came in, they came in hot with all these other opportunities. And what let me know this person that I was dealing with was a toxic friend was because she ended up taking the opportunity. So one of the people who disliked what we were doing together presented her with another job offer. And instead of being like, hey, what we're doing is great, it's picking up traction, she went with the job opportunity that she felt like was more secure. And even in that, honey, let me tell you, that was the most uncomfortable conversation I've ever had. In the conversation, she literally told me to my face, and when I get to where I'm going, then I'll bring you with me and then I can teach you. And I was like, this is a new level. Like, this is something different. I would have never thought that somebody, that you call a friend or a sister would do something like that. But it just goes to show you, you know, where people's priorities are. And hindsight, because you know it's 2020, sometimes you do have to consider what is best for you, which is ultimately why you're trying to decide who's toxic in your life anyway. Is it me or is it this other person? And if it is this other person, then we got to cut it. And if it's me, I got to cut it, because obviously me being around this person is bringing out the worst in me. And we have to realize when somebody is bringing out the worst in us, that's causing us to act out of character that we wouldn't normally be in. And then you have to realize when opportunities or certain things come into place and people are jealous, you got to have discernment to know everybody ain't your friend. And you know, our mom told that from jump. You can't tell me you didn't come home one day and tell your mom, oh, this is my best friend. And when she left, your mom was like, that ain't the one. And
that
she
ain't
was always right. She was always right. You'd be like, no, Mom, really, we're best friends. And no sooner than your mom has said it, she was right. And I'm like, dang, like, it's so true. But we forget those pivotal moments in our lives and those lessons. And then when we're adults, somehow we feel like that's the trump card to the rest of life.
Have you ever been in a predicament where you've hit up someone that you helped out before and they was like, oh, what you talking about? I can't do nothing for you.
Yep, a long time ago, and I'm no longer friends with those people.
Okay. Because I'm learning a lot about my past friendships and low-key about myself, because it's like, damn, I have had all my friends have been like that. So what is it about me that's attracting these people or continuing to gravitate to these? You know what I'm saying?
Some people aren't guarded enough. And then some people are, like she said, lack of empathy, just think they're better than everyone else, just super, you know, like, just, they're complete opposite of that. Like, they're overly confident, but in a cocky way where it's prideful. Yeah. It's egotistical too. And so it's like, it's not something that's genuine. It's not something that's coming from like a positive place. It's something that's coming from something negative. So I think, you know, like I said, some people are not guarded enough and they have a tendency to attract toxic people because it's easier to manipulate. And then you have people who are extremely guarded.
That's super deep, because that's what you're saying, Candy. That's more where I've definitely been like, you know, like, yeah, girl, you know what I'm saying? Where it's just like expecting people to pretty much be like me. And for so long, not having that reciprocated, I have kind of shut off to the point where I, you know, didn't even entertain the fact of having, or entertain the idea of having friends. And that was my way of protecting myself so that I wasn't, because I'm all about like, come on, you know, like, I'm reading the 4 Agreements Companion book right now, girl. So I'm like, okay, we're not being a victim, but what is it? You know what I'm saying? So we're just like, okay, all right now, come on, self. Like, what's going on?
So many girls and so many women, mothers, grandmothers, aunts, daughters out there who are going to resonate with this, because it's a lot of us going through those emotions, and there's a lot of us that are going to, like I said, go through some deep self-intermissions and try to cut some of these relationships off. Just be positive and be real with yourself. Like, if you know that your friends are coward manure and you need a new circle, it's okay. Your friends are coward manure and you need a new circle. You have to take it one day at a time and know and trust yourself that you will make different decisions and that you will put out there to attract different energies of people that you don't currently have around you. If you see that you currently have a group of 5 friends and you may want to cut off 4, or you may just want to cut off 1, or you may want to cut off any at all. You just don't want to cut off any. Be comfortable in your decision, but be real with yourself. If you're like Penny, where you felt like, wow, I've been through so much, and I just would rather just stay to myself, give it another shot, but make sure that you are looking at the mistakes that you made, and if you didn't make any mistakes, looking at the changes you need to make. within yourself so that you aren't making those same negative relationships again with new people. But I think it's very healthy for people to make friends. And I think it's very healthy for us to socialize, even in a time of social distancing. You know, like minds will attract, but we have to be very confident in what we do like. Do that.
Look, you ain't got nothing but time. We ain't all
Girl,
got
yeah, nothing but
space
time
and opportunity right now.
But don't block yourself from making new friendships and new relationships, because that's what life's all about. So kudos, ladies. I just love it. I love the vibe. Snap fingers.
So everybody, my penny for your thoughts today. I kind of want to do like a two-part. So the first one is a repost from Tracy Ellis Ross, and she pulled it from Reese Witherspoon and Susan Sarandon, and it says, "Thank you, janitors and sanitation workers, transit employees, postal workers, and those working in warehouse and shipping, doctors, nurses, medical staff, restaurant employees, everyone in food and grocery, and all the parents, shout out to y'all, dealing with a lot of kids in small spaces. Now we know who's been running this country all along." And my other part, going off of what Lavina was saying earlier, utilizing our time, social distancing, who will not take coronavirus as an excuse to not follow your goals or dreams. And feel free to hit us in our comments and let us know what you're going to do during this time of being, distance, but still working towards something that you want for 2020.
I love that, Penny. That's great. And I 100% agree. In this time where it seems like nothing good can come out of it, that is just not true. It's all about your mindset. And if you put your mind to the fact that something beautiful can come out of this, then that's what will happen. And so we just thank you guys so much for plugging in, for listening in, for all the comments, for all the love on our Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. So just continue the conversation with us, ladies. If there's anything that you want to ask or anything that you feel like you would love to hear us discuss, feel free to hit us up on any of our platforms, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, @WomenUnplugged_. That is @WomenUnplugged_. We love to hear from you, and we're so thankful, and we're going to get through all this together. So thanks so much. We'll see you guys in another few weeks.
Thank y'all for plugging in.